Broadcasting live from Jackson and State in Chicago's Loop, it's Radio DePaul Sports and Entertainment.
You're listening to RDSE, where sports and showbiz meet.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard, presented by RDSE, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons, and I've had an amazing week in the NBA since last Friday. 2 records, with LeBron breaking the 50,000-point mark, which was crazy to see, and then also last night we saw Stephen Curry break 4,000 career three-pointers against my Sacramento Kings, so wasn't amazing to see that, but again, 4,000 career threes. We might not ever see it again. We probably will, but, I mean, Steph Curry being the first person to ever do it, crazy. We've also seen multiple game winners this week. Again, one against the Sacramento Kings. And just some big games for standings, big games going down the stretch for the playoffs. So, first, like we start off every show, we're going to start off with the Sacramento Kings, who are now 33-32 on the season, 9th seed in the West, on a 3-game losing streak, only a game ahead of the Dallas Mavericks right now, who are the 10th seed and 3.5 games above the Phoenix Suns. And I mean, since the last show, which was last Friday, the Kings are 1-3, and their first game, a 127-109 victory over the San Antonio Spurs. De'Aaron Fox, first game back in Sacramento since the trade, had 16 points, 0 for 6 shooting from the three-point line. Other than that, nobody really showed up for the Spurs other than Stephon Castle, who had 25 off the bench. And then in this game, for the Kings, Zach LaVine, 36 points. So the guy that was a part of the De'Aaron Fox trade really had an amazing game tonight. 7 for 11 from the three-point line, 14 for 22 from the field. And then Jonas Valanciunas, another solid game, double-double. Keegan Murray had a solid game, still struggling to shoot the three-point ball, which will be something we talk a lot about this. And during the Kings segment, is Keegan Murray really struggling to shoot the ball. DeMar DeRozan had 22. Keon Ellis had 10, filling in for Malik Monk, who was out this game, and Domantas Sabonis, who was out this whole week with a hamstring injury. But on Wednesday, he was back at full practice. Didn't play last night, but should hopefully be back pretty soon. Again, this game, just a solid game all around for the Kings. 44% from the three-point line compared to 38% from the Spurs. And then just rebounded the ball a little bit better than them. 51 total rebounds to 36. So just a solid game from the Kings all around. And De'Aaron Fox didn't get his revenge against his old team, but also De'Aaron Fox is now going to be out for the rest of the season for the San Antonio Spurs, getting surgery on his pinky finger, which he's been struggling with as of late the last couple of seasons. And I think this is just going to be Stephon Castle's show down the stretch to end this season. They're just going to be playing kind of nonsense basketball, nothing really to play for, because they're not going to make the play-in anymore, and they're just going to be playing for a better draft pick this coming NBA draft. Then the start of our losing streak came against the Los Angeles Clippers, which was a 111-110 loss in overtime to the Los Angeles Clippers. Every time the Kings and the Clippers play, it always feels like we have an amazing game. Like, Kings-Clippers is must-watch TV. And I mean, this season, the first 2 games weren't great. Kings right now are on pace to get swept unless we can win the game April 11th. So that's not good to see from a Pacific team rival and a team that you're competing for the play-in spot for. So that's never good to see. But, I mean, this game was a lot closer than the other games. 9-point loss the first time we played the Clippers, and then a 16-point loss the second time. And again, this game, Kawhi Leonard hits a game winner in OT, and there's not much we can say about it. I mean, Zach LaVine had a 30-point game. Keegan Murray, 3 for 6 shooting, so this game wasn't too bad shooting the ball for him, but again, still not at that level we need him at. DeMar DeRozan had a 31-point game off the bench. Didn't really get much. Devin Carter had an 8-point game off the bench, which was solid to see. Jake LaRavia had 7. Markelle Fultz, 0. Trey Lyles only had 2 points in 11 minutes. Keon Ellis had 8 points. The only thing, I mean, Kawhi was not shooting great during this game. 7 for 9 from the field and 1 for 7 from the three-point line. But, I mean, he makes up for all that when he hits a game winner and he's playing amazing defense on the other end of the court. And then James Harden had a 29-point game off the bench. Derrick Jones Jr. had 17. It was just a very close game all throughout. Kings shot 26% from the three-point line, which really killed them this game. 9 for 34 shooting in that department, so it's not great to see. I mean, we won the rebounding battle, we won everything else but the 3-point battle, which it's troublesome when you're playing a team like the Clippers who have James Harden and Kawhi Leonard who could just get hot down the stretch, and then, I mean, you get into overtime, you're playing two guys that can hit a game winner any game, no matter how old they are. And that's what happened this game with Kawhi Leonard hitting that game winner. And this game kind of reminded me of that game we had a couple of seasons ago, Mike Brown's first year, when it was like 156 to 157 against the Clippers, which was just a crazy game. And just shows kind of a rivalry there, starting with the Clippers this last couple of seasons. But we'll move on to our second loss of the week, which came against the New York Knicks, which was a 133 to 104 loss. Just got absolutely stomped on by the New York Knicks. They jumped out to a lead early. They were up by 15 after the first quarter, and then after that, the game was just never really close. We didn't outscore them in any quarter. Best was we tied the second quarter, and I mean, 2 37-point quarters, and we can't even score over 30 points in those quarters. So the Knicks, they walked us this game without Jalen Brunson. So Miles McBride came in, though. Shout out to him, 21 points, 7 assists on 7 for 11 shooting. Just all their guys played really well. OG Anunoby, 24 points. Karl-Anthony Towns, 26 points. Mikal had kind of a down game, 15 points. And then Landry Shamet, 13 points off the bench. For the Kings, DeMar DeRozan only had 11 points on 4 for 10 shooting. Zach LaVine, 17 points. Malik Monk, 21 points. Valanciunas, 10 points. Keegan Murray, 9 points. 1 for 6 shooting from Keegan Murray this game. And then off the bench, Isaac Jones gave us some solid minutes when he was in, leading scorer off the bench in 19 minutes. Keon, 9 points. But, I mean, this is just a really tough game to watch. I mean, they beat us by 23 in the first game and 29 in the second game. So they beat us by a combined 52 points this season, which is nothing any fan wants to see from their team, and just terrible game all around from everybody surrounding the Kings this game. And we're just slowly sliding out of getting, at this point, we're in a fight to keep the play-in spot, which a week ago we were at a point where we could have fought to get a better play-in spot, but now we're fighting to stay in the play-in, which is kind of because the West is so close at the bottom, especially for these last play-in spots. But, I mean, we had a chance to kind of lock up a play-in spot. Not entirely because, any team can get hot and any team can get cold, which we're seeing with the Kings right now is they are very cold these last 3 games. And it's tough to see because, we had a chance to battle the Timberwolves for that 7th seed, which gives you a chance to only have to play 1 game, and it gives you the opportunity to have 2 games in the play-in, which is huge for a team like the Kings because we could just have a down game, and now that we're sitting at the 9th spot, we're done. We lose our first playing game, we're done. If we get the 7 or the 8 seed, we have a chance of getting a bad game and then coming back, and we have a chance to play again and prove ourselves a little bit. But right now, Kings aren't doing much. Keegan Murray is really struggling this season, which is partially why we're having a down year. But we'll talk about the Warriors a little bit more, and then we'll talk about Keegan Murray. Or we'll talk about the last game between the Kings and the Warriors, which was a 130-104 loss to the Golden State Warriors, which this was the game that Stephen Curry hit the 4,000 career three-pointer mark, which props to Stephen Curry. Never going to hate on him. I was cheering for him a little bit when he hit that. I knew this game was going to be bad when you're in the Oracle Center, or Chase Center, sorry, and Stephen Curry's going for a record, and you start off the game with Draymond Green hitting 2 corner threes to start the game. Obviously the game plan was to let Draymond shoot those corner threes, but when he comes into a game and he hits both of those, and they outscore us 30-18 in the first quarter, it's going to be really tough to come back, especially when Stephen Curry's going for 4,000 career three-pointers and Kuminga's back. There's just not much we can do in this game. Starters. Zach LaVine had 14 points on 5 for 6 shooting, but he just wasn't aggressive, only taking 5 or 6 shots. And then DeMar, 23 points on 8 for 13 shooting. Keegan Murray, 2 for 10 on 2 for 8 from the three-point line, which it's just the fall-off from Keegan Murray rookie year where he was breaking rookie three-point records to now is just it hurts because I don't even know if it's a product of he's just not getting the looks, or it was just a kind of Mike Brown offense and just that first year was just amazing. Everything was going our way. We were scoring the ball at such a high rate, and then if that's kind of just what it was, and if this is what we have to expect from Keegan Murray going forward, I hope it's not, because I love Keegan Murray. He gives us some solid defense off the bench, but or not off the bench. He's one of our better defenders, which isn't saying a lot, but it's tough to watch him when he plays this game on Stephen Curry all game, which Steph Curry this game only had 11 points, 4 for 9 shooting. So Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, they did their job against Stephen Curry, but it's just tough when Keegan's just not giving you anything on the offensive end. And then off the bench this game, Keon Ellis did have 18 points off the bench. Jake LaRavia had 13. Trey Lyles had 11. We switched it up from Jonas Valanciunas. He only played 14 minutes this game because we switched up to Trey Lyles in the second half going against Quentin Post. So he went a little bit small ball against the Warriors. Then in this game, Draymond Green was the leading scorer for the Golden State Warriors, which he had 23 points. He was knocking down his three-point shots. He shot 4 for 7. Curry had 11 points. Moses Moody had 17, which he's been balling out for the Golden State Warriors. And Jimmy Butler had 6 points. just looking at the box score from this game, we shouldn't have lost by 26 points when their two best players score for a combined 17 points. But then you look off the bench, Buddy Hield 16 points against his former team, 18 points from Jonathan Kuminga. Gary Payton II had 11 points. Gui Santos had 10 points. It was just another tough game to watch, and this was Jonathan Kuminga's first game back since January 4th. So he came back 18 points in 20 minutes on 70% shooting. Really solid from him. Kind of interesting how he's going to fit in with the Warriors lineup as they go down the stretch of the season. And, I mean, they shoot 22 for 39 from the three-point line. That's 56% compared to the Kings shooting 37% on 14 made threes. So they outworked us, and we split the season series, so not too upset about that. But, I mean, this was definitely a winnable game, considering the fact that their two best players only combined for 17 points. But now to talk about Keegan Murray, his first year in the NBA, the 2022-2023 season, which was the year we went to the playoffs. We played the Warriors first round. We lost. If Harrison Barnes hits that three-pointer, we beat the Warriors, and we don't know what goes on after that. But 12 points per game from Keegan Murray this season in 80 games, and he shot 41% from the three-point line. Then last year, he had 15 points per game, so his scoring jump went up a little bit. But three-point percentage went down to 35%. And then this season, back to 12.2 points per game in 62 games. And he's shooting a combined 33% from the three-point line. And he's shooting even less than he has the last two seasons, which is making it even worse that he's shooting a lower percentage because he's taking less shots. He's only, at this rate, he's only making 2 threes a game on 6 shots. Where other seasons he was making around 3.3 shots a game on 6 shots, and then 2.5 shots a game on 7 shots. But he's shooting under 6 shots a game, and he's making less than 2 shots a game, which it's just really taken away from his three-point percentage, which is just taking a hit. But I don't know. Doug Christie really needs to figure out something with the starting lineup as soon as Sabonis comes back, because Valanciunas has had a really solid stretch of games. Since he joined the Kings, he is averaging 9 points per game and 8.5 rebounds on 53% shooting. In his last 4 games he started, and he's been really solid in those games. But, I mean, we need Sabonis back, and I really think Malik Monk needs to move to the bench. 3 for 13 shooting against the Warriors last night. And then Keon Ellis has 18 off the bench. And Keon just gives us more of a defensive versatility. Keegan Murray can more rely on guarding a bigger wing. And then we can have Keon Ellis in there guarding a guard if we're playing a team that has a strong point guard, combo guard. So I think Doug Christie just really needs to lock in on trying to move Malik Monk to the bench and then just let Malik Monk rock out on the bench. Let him be Malik Monk that he wants to be. He wants to be a scorer. If he's off the bench, Jake LaRavia, Trey Lyles, they're not really going to take shots away from him. Just let him rock out on the bench and just let Keon slide into that starting lineup position and just be a cohesive unit defensively and offensively, because Keon's not going to take shots away from DeMar, from Zach LaVine. He's not that kind of guy. Malik Monk will take shots away from those guys, especially, I mean, he shot 13 times last night, and Zach LaVine only shot 6 times. So getting Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan the ball on the offensive end with the starters is key. But then off the bench, we don't really have a pure scorer off the bench. Keon can give us some buckets. Jake LaRavia can give us some buckets. But Malik Monk would just come in and just instantly be a scorer off the bench, which I think is his best position, is being a bench scorer for a team. He's solid in the starting lineup at times, but it just feels as if it's not a cohesive unit when we rock out with Malik Monk, Zach LaVine, Keegan Murray, DeMar DeRozan, and Domantas Sabonis. So hopefully Doug Christie can try to make that switch. Now to move to some other talking points for the last week. We saw the OKC Thunder and the Denver Nuggets played back-to-back games, and they split them. The OKC Thunder won the first game 127-103. In this game, Nikola Jokic had almost a triple-double. Michael Porter Jr. had 24 points. Other than that, Christian Braun had 19, Jamal Murray 17, Aaron Gordon 5 points in 7 minutes. And then for OKC, Shea had a 40 ball. J-Dub had 26. And then they went with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein in the starting lineup, OKC is also trying to figure out what their lineup is going to look like going down the stretch. I mean, I think their best lineup, it's tough to say because they're a little bit more cohesive when it's really just it's matchup dependent when it comes to the Thunder, because if I'm Mark Dagnall in picking a lineup, I mean, Shea obviously is Shea, J-Dub, and Chet I think are always going to be consistent starters for this team. Lou Dort is also another consistent starter. But Hartenstein is somebody that could switch with somebody off the bench, like an Alex Caruso if you need a really defensive-minded guard in there. But then it kind of depends, if they play a bigger team, are they going to run two centers out there? At times, it feels like they don't entirely fit next to each other, Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein. But, I mean, in this game, it worked out. Isaiah Hartenstein had a double-double. Chet had 14 points on 6 for 10 shooting. J-Dub, 26 points. Off the bench, Jalen Williams had 9 points. And Casey Wallace had 5. Alex Caruso had 8. Then in the second game, which the Nuggets took, was a 140-127 victory for the Denver Nuggets, who they were down at halftime, but that second half, third quarter especially, they really just put pedal to the metal, and they just ran OKC out the gym in the third quarter, outscoring them 34-26, which doesn't look too bad, but when you were watching the game, it really felt like Denver was really starting to pull away. Then again, they outscored OKC by 11 in the fourth. In this game, though, Nikola Jokic had a 35-point game, 18 rebounds, and 8 assists. And then Michael Porter Jr. had 17 points. And Jamal Murray was on a heater this game, 34 points from Jamal Murray. They were out without Aaron Gordon this game. And off the bench, they had some solid minutes. Zeke Nnaji had a really solid game, 11 points. Didn't score the ball, but he was defending well at the basket. Didn't get a block or anything, but was constantly putting some contest on some interior shots. Peyton Watson, 16 points off the bench, 4 for 4 shooting. And he was talking to the OKC bench, which if OKC and Denver can play in the conference finals, it would be amazing to see. This will be an amazing series. This will definitely go to 7. And if OKC and Denver plays, it'll probably be the best series of the playoffs, other than maybe Cleveland and Boston. Then again, Jalen Pickett also had 8 points off the bench for the Denver Nuggets. Rochester guy, shout out to him. And then for OKC this game, 25 points from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 26 from Lou Dort, 20 from iHeart, 12 from J-Dub, and then 8 from Chet Holmgren. Off the bench, Alex Caruso had 13 points, and Cason Wallace had 12. Again, solid game from the Thunder, but again, you can't really... Denver is so tough to beat when Jamal Murray is on a heater. When he is cooking, when he's feeling it, there's not many teams that I feel can beat the Denver Nuggets, because you might look up and see Jamal Murray has 27 points going into the fourth quarter, but then that could turn into 42 at the end of the fourth quarter, because when he gets hot, especially late down the stretch, he's always somebody you look at down the stretch who can hit some big shots, big threes. He already has a couple game winners in his career, especially against the Lakers. So, and then you have Nikola Jokic as well next to him, who he might not have 27, 28 points going in the fourth, but he'll probably have around 18, 20 points, 14 assists going in if Jamal Murray's really cooking. Because if Jamal Murray's really cooking, that's more eyes on Jamal Murray, and Nikola Jokic just picks that apart. You got Russ, Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, Aaron Gordon when he's healthy, just cutting, getting easy buckets. And this is going to be an amazing matchup if they get to play. They split the season series this year, so 2-2. So this is going to be a really competitive game, really competitive series that they play. And this is what I'm rooting for the Western Conference Finals. OKC versus Denver, because I think these two teams are the best teams in the Western Conference and two of the best teams in the league. Right now, Memphis right now is above Denver in the standings, but I'm picking Denver in a series over Memphis any day of the week. And so if the Western Conference and Eastern Conference Finals comes down to two top teams in each conference, which I believe, if it's OKC versus Denver in the Western Conference and Cleveland versus Boston in the East, that finals will be one of the best finals of the last couple seasons. We haven't seen a lot of great finals. Last year was a fun final series. The last one I really loved was Milwaukee versus Phoenix. So if it can come down to any four of those teams, a combination of two of those teams playing each other, this will be an amazing finals this year. I'm super happy that we're really competitive this year for the teams that are in the playoffs. Because, Cleveland, they're probably going to walk whoever they play in the first round. Boston, they're probably going to walk whoever they play in the first round. But then you got New York versus Detroit as the 3-6 seed right now, which it'll probably stay like this because New York is 5 games ahead of Milwaukee, and Detroit is 4 games ahead of Atlanta for the 7th seed. But, they're only half a game and a game behind Milwaukee, so Detroit could really bump up to the 4 seed. But then you got Milwaukee versus the Pacers, which Tyrese Haliburton just hit a game winner against Milwaukee, and there's already a little bit of bad blood. We saw Tyrese Haliburton's dad hitting the Dame time after his game winner. The Eastern Conference is going to be really fun, especially out of the first round. And then the Western Conference, OKC plays either Minnesota or the Clippers. That'll be really fun. Grizzlies play either Minnesota or the Clippers. That'll also be super fun. Ant versus Ja. Jaren versus Rudy Gobert. Denver versus Golden State. That'll be super fun. And the Lakers versus the young Rockets team. I think the Lakers will probably walk the Rockets. I don't think it'll go to 7 or anything. Maybe 6 if the Rockets can really be on a heater. But I think every game in that series will be close. And then, we'll talk about the Lakers we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll talk about the Lakers. But this has been Beyond the Scoreboard, presented by RDSE, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons.
Hey, it's Dibs, your favorite demon in a blue suit. You're listening to Radio DePaul Sports, the student voice of your DePaul Blue Demon.
Campbell to Stonewall. Stonewall driving to the rim, goes up, gets it to fall, and one.
Oh, Max Strus brings down the house.
Radio DePaul Sports, your home for Blue Demon basketball.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard, presented by RDSE, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons. And I said we were going to talk about the Lakers before we went to the quick commercial break, but first off, I want to give a shout-out to the DePaul Blue Demons. You heard the Dibs intro back to the show, and I just want to give a shout-out to the men's team last night. Lost a double overtime thriller against Creighton. Tough game to lose, but all those guys really played their heart out. Lost J.J. Traynor early, but, I mean, Layden Blocker, C.J. Gunn, N.J. Benson, all those guys, Isaiah Rivera, had amazing games last night, and, I mean, this was supposed to be a rebuilding year, and they outperformed what everybody thought of them. First year, Chris Holtman, he always is known for those quick turnarounds, and hopefully just continues this quick turnaround with DePaul. And super fun game last night. Tough to see them lose like they did, but I mean, can't be sad. Can't look down on it when, I mean, they weren't even projected to win a game in the Big East tournament, and you win a game in the Big East tournament, and you also, I mean, you sweep Georgetown, so just a huge season from the DePaul Blue Demons, and can't wait for next year to start already. But we'll talk about the Lakers. The Lakers, I mean, LeBron James went down with an injury, and they're already showing it. 3-game losing streak from the Los Angeles Lakers right now. One of the losses to the Boston Celtics, which LeBron did play in this game. This was before the injury. He had 22 points this game, 14 rebounds, 9 assists. Luka Doncic had a 34-point game. 10-point loss to their rivals, the Boston Celtics, off of a Jason Tatum 40-point game and a Jaylen Brown 31-point game. Stars for Boston really just showed up. Derek White, Drew Holiday, solid defenders this whole game. Al Horford came in 14 points. This is a Boston team without Kristaps Porzingis right now, so he was out with an unknown illness. Like, he's the first person to ever have it, which is kind of scary if I was Kristaps Porzingis. But, I mean, this game, Boston just really outworked the Lakers. I mean, it was a close game all around, only a 10-point victory for Boston. But, I mean, the stars for Boston just really showed up this game. Then their first game without LeBron James was against the Brooklyn Nets, which was a 111-108 loss in Brooklyn. And, I mean, I wanted to see D'Lo come out and just have an amazing game against the Lakers, but that was not the case. He only had 8 points this game, 2 for 9 shooting. And, I mean, this game, just a solid performance from everybody for Brooklyn. I mean, they had a couple guys that struggled. Zaire Williams had 7 points on 2 for 10 shooting. Nick Claxton had 12 points. Jalen Wilson, 1 for 5 shooting with 4 points off the bench. Day'Ron Sharp, 8 points. Reese Beckman, 3 points. But Tyrese Martin, Noah Clowney, Keon Johnson, Cameron Johnson were all the leaders for this Brooklyn Net victory over the Los Angeles Lakers. And then for the Lakers, Gabe Vincent kind of stuck out this game. 24 points, 8 for 12 shooting, 6 for 9 for the three-point line. Hopefully his confidence can come back. I mean, ever since he signed that deal with the Lakers, he just kind of has been a nobody for them. Really struggled to shoot the ball. I think it's more just like the pressure of being in a Lakers yellow and purple uniform, because it's not gold and purple anymore. It's yellow and purple now. the pressure of being in that jersey kind of got to him, but he's kind of got his confidence back after the Luka Doncic trade, and he's kind of got some more run with the starters. Austin Reeves had 17 points this game. Luka Doncic had a 22-point triple-double, and then Dalton Knecht had 19, and Jordan Goodwin had 17 off the bench. But, I mean, you look at this whole game, the Lakers really shouldn't be losing a game like this, but this is like a stereotypical Lakers without LeBron. They lose to a bottom-feeding team in the East on a game that they shouldn't have lost. I mean, they won the shooting battle everywhere. Rebounding battle was really close, but, I mean, similar. But, I mean, 15 turnovers from the Lakers is what really killed them this game, and 7 from the Nets. So solid keeping the ball together for Brooklyn, but, I mean, the Lakers really need to turn that around a little bit. And, I mean, the last game, which was against the Milwaukee Bucks, which is a tough game, especially not having LeBron. You lose by 20. Luka Doncic had a 45-point game, double-double. But then other than that, Gabe Vincent, 6 points. Alex Len, 2 points. Dorian Finney-Smith, 5 points from the starters. Austin Reeves had 28 as well in the starting lineup. And then Dalton Knecht had 10. So really this game was just only Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and Dalton Knecht really showed up this game. And Dalton Knecht, not even really, because he only had 10. So it was really just 2 guys for the Lakers showed up. And they continued to turn the ball over, 13 turnovers this game. And then for the Bucks, 24 from Giannis, 23 from Brook, 22 from Dame, 22 from KPJ off the bench. And then just a couple solid performances other than that. 16 points from Gary Trent as well. So, Lakers struggling without LeBron. Just continuity, kind of. They're not really being able to hold themselves together. And not really much to say about the Lakers. Hopefully LeBron could come back pretty soon. But, I mean, this is kind of showing the weaknesses of the Lakers. Is if LeBron or Luka goes down later on in the season, it could be tough for them to battle with some of these top teams in the Western Conference. The Lakers now have the 3rd hardest schedule to end the season, which is going to be very tough for them, especially not having LeBron. Their next couple games coming up, they got Denver tonight, Phoenix on Sunday, San Antonio on Monday, Denver on Wednesday, and then they play Milwaukee, and then a couple other games they got to end the season. Memphis, Houston, Golden State, OKC on back-to-back, Houston again. It's going to be very tough for the Lakers, especially for this next week or two without LeBron. They have they have games against playoff teams, playoff caliber teams in the Eastern Conference that are fighting for positions like Orlando, Indiana, Chicago a little bit. So they're going to struggle these next 2 weeks, and we're really going to see if the Lakers are built to kind of make a push in the playoffs. It's tough to say without LeBron, but, I mean, Luka's going to really have to hold this team together, and it's going to be really tough. Now, some other talking points I have before we end off the show is, I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the Warriors earlier. Jimmy Butler is 13-1 with the Golden State Warriors, which now ties the amount of victories he had with the Miami Heat this season. 13-12 with the Heat to now 13-1 with the Warriors. Just amazing turnaround for the Warriors. A lot of people second-guess this trade. But, I mean, if you're a Warriors fan now, you're on a 6-game winning streak, 9-1 in the last 10, and you're 13-1 with Jimmy Butler. I don't think there's any way you go look at that trade and you're like, you look back at that trade and you don't like it. It gives you a chance to fight in the playoffs this season. I mean, you have 2 proven playoff performers in Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry, and then just a bunch of solid pieces around them. It's going to be tough adding Kuminga back, seeing where he fits in. But, I mean, the Warriors are built to win they're built to go on a deep playoff run right now, and I like them to upset some teams. Like, if I'm any of the teams in the Western Conference, OKC is number 1, the team you don't want to play. The Nuggets are number 2, and then the Warriors are number 3 for me. And this is for any team in the Western Conference playoffs, and Eastern Conference. Nobody wants to play the Warriors, and that's it. You don't want to play the Warriors, and if you have to, you really have to game plan against Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, because you do not want to let those guys get hot in a playoff series, and they carry that on throughout the playoffs. Then I want to end it off with who my pick for most improved player is going to be this season. So J-Dub was up there for a while of somebody that was up for most improved player this year, but I'm pretty sure based off of injuries, I think he is ineligible to win MIP this year. I can't remember if it was J-Dub or somebody else. Somebody else was up for most improved player, but right now J-Dub has only played he's played 61 games, so he has to play 65 games. Maybe I'm misremembering it as not J-Dub, but there was somebody for most improved player that has now fallen out of it because of injury. And now odds are in the favor of Cade Cunningham to win most improved player this year, which I guess he has improved, and the Pistons as a whole have really improved, which is really solid. Happy to see it for them. But I mean, Cade Cunningham, first overall pick a couple seasons ago, he wasn't terrible last season. He hasn't been terrible since he came into the league. He's just gone from like really good to great, which is a jump that people have to make, and he's made it, and he's probably going to continue to be a great player, all-star caliber player every single season of his career, depending on injuries and depending on where the Pistons are at. But my pick for most improved player this year, before it was Jalen Johnson, who also fell out because of injuries. But I'm going to pick his teammate in Atlanta. I'm going with Dyson Daniels as my most improved player for this season. Last year, he averaged 5.8 points per game on 1.4 steals and 4 rebounds, and he played 61 games for the Pelicans, 16 games he started. He then came to Atlanta in the DeJounte Murray trade and has been the best player a part of the DeJounte Murray trade. In Atlanta this year, he's averaging 14 points per game, 3 steals per game, 6 rebounds per game, and he started every single game this season. Now, right now, Dyson Daniels also has the most steals in a single season in the last decade with 180. And, I mean, I wanted to check that because I wanted to see, like, where he ranks in all time, because I don't really think too much on how many steals a player averages in a season. But I was looking at Basketball Reference, and then I see the most ever steals in a season was Alvin Robertson with 301 steals in a season. This was in the 1985-86 season with the San Antonio Spurs, where he averaged 3.7 steals a game. And he won Defensive Player of the Year and his nickname was Dog. Very fitting for a guy that averages 3.7 steals a game. And, I mean, I could see that same thing going on with Dyson Daniels. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be a part of Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, honestly, he could be. It's probably going to go to Jaren Jackson Jr. or Evan Mobley, just because the Hawks aren't amazing, which is something that could take away, that could add to Cade Cunningham, is he's really made the Pistons go from the worst team in NBA history, 26-game losing streak, to then jump to the 6th seed or even higher. They have a chance to jump to the 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. So it's really between Cade Cunningham and Dyson Daniels. My pick, my pick, Dyson Daniels, because he's really made a jump, made a name for himself. And Cade Cunningham also made a name for himself, but the jump is not as significant as the Dyson Daniels jump. And the most improved player that I just remembered it is Norman Powell. He was like a consensus pick for most improved player this year, but Norman Powell is now out. He's out. He'll be reevaluated today, actually. He went out 10 days ago, and he's supposed to be reevaluated today, but he's only played 46 games this season, so he is out of the running for most improved player. So it's between Cade Cunningham and Dyson Daniels. I'm going with Dyson Daniels. I picked an Atlanta Hawk to start the season. I'm going to end picking an Atlanta Hawk. That's all I have today for Beyond the Scoreboard. It's been presented by RDSE, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons.